G'day everyone, it's Warren from NQ Explorers. I'm just here on behalf of Garrett Australia to run through a couple of basic features in an Australian context for the Garrett Infinium LS pulse induction metal detector. Personally, I purchased this machine for prospecting, but I know a lot of you blokes use them for beach detecting, which they're great in the salt sand, and you can even go underwater with them with the optional waterproof headphones. You can dive with it. These are the land headphones that come with it out of the box. And it also comes stock with a 14-inch double D search coil. Today I've got the mono-loop coil on, which I sort of use as a preference to the double D for gold prospecting. I haven't really come across any ground that's too hot for the mono coil, but if I do, I can always go over to the double D coil. I've always got that with me anyway. This thing is just all raw power. It's very economical to use. It runs on 8 AA batteries, which you get a couple of days solid hunting out of. So it's very economical and cheap to run. And it's basically a dig everything machine. Yes, it does have a discrimination mode, which is known as reverse discrimination, this machine. Personally, I don't use that. I believe that in the goldfields you just got to dig every signal. And if you're digging all the high lows or the low highs, or you're trying to reverse discriminate things, you may miss small gold, so I don't do that. But I mean, you may wish to do that if you're in a trashy bit of ground. But I find that with the PI machines, if you get into a really trashy old timers creek, it'll drive you mad with the iron anyway. You're better off on a VLF. But the PIs are perfect for our conditions in the really hot grounds that you typically encounter in the goldfields. It's pretty much a set and forget machine in that respect. When you ground balance this machine in slow, I'll demonstrate that shortly. Once the machine's running nice and sweet, put her into lock and away you go. And that will generally account for most variations in mineralisation. Unless you're getting a lot of really abrupt changes in your mineralisation, you know, cold ground, hot ground, red dirt coming up, a bit of grey soil or whatever environment you're in. If you're in WA, you're in the Golden Triangle. Up here I'm in the North Queensland goldfields. Generally, slow track will compensate for that. If you're getting a really quick variation, you'll have to go to fast track. But I've never found I've had to needed to use that. I stay on lock because you get better penetration and the machine's more stable. Now, the other thing is too that the thing about the Infinium that's critical is your swing speed with the coil. Don't go rushing about in the bush swinging around like a maniac, because you will miss targets. Its recovery speed is only moderate. You just need to take your time, enjoy the day out in the bush, and you will find targets. Just a couple of quick points on setup. Control housing. I've got it mounted under the S-stem there. You can mount it on top of the S-stem, or you can belt mount it. That's a personal preference. I don't mind it like this. It's pretty well balanced. It's just a matter of tipping the machine up, because the control box is now upside down, to work the controls, but you don't have to do too much control working, so that's okay. There's no screen to need to be looking at. I've got a little cuff cover to make it a little bit more comfortable there in a hot day. Make sure you get these little plastic bolts tight, because otherwise you might get a movement in your upper arm and that sort of thing. Critical thing with the Infinium I've found is the coil cable. That has to be tight as practical, but still allowing for a bit of heel and toe on the coil, because if you don't, you'll get false signals from the cable. As you swing, at the end of your swings, you get the wee-aw, and it'll drive you mad all day, because you'll be listening to wee-aw all day and it's not a target, it's just false signals. So make sure you get this cable tight. It does come with some little Velcro, little grey Velcro straps out of the box. I use a bit of duct tape, and I've got another stem with the double D coil, so I can just do a quick change to the other coil. But when you do that, you've got to ensure that that cable's tight. Otherwise the false signals will drive you mad. Another just little quick mod I did was the Garrett the coil cover for the Garrett 14-inch coil. It's the same coil cover for the 14-inch and the mono, but it's solid, because the double D of course has got the coil coming through here. What I've done is cut that out on the mono, because I find it fills up with sticks and dirt and water, and you end up, A, it weighs twice as much, and 2, you can get false signals too, because the dirt and all the bits of sticks get into underneath between the cover and the coil. This is great, just lets the air through, and I like to see the target response too on a mono coil as you cross it. If it's a shallow target, you'll get the ragged signals as you cross each side of the coil. It'll like be a ragged wee or like that, and you'll know it's only a shallow target. Deeper targets are softer, and this here is a real sweet spot on the mono. It picks up, it's very sensitive in the centre section. That's just something I've found. Anyway, so I'll just go through the ground balance now and show you some of the features of the machine as we're hunting. Okay, just a quick run through on the controls. The control box, I've got it mounted under the cuff. I find that good for balance and for detecting. I have no trouble with it in that position. You can belt mount it. It comes with a belt mount, and you can put it on top of the stem. I haven't tried that, but this is easy to get to. The box is actually upside down in respect to the hand grip, but that's easy to use. You just lift the coil up and to adjust the controls, but because there's so few controls, you don't do a lot of adjusting in the field. Anyway, so this is the headphone cable. You actually can get an adapter from Garrett which allows you to run that waterproof connector to a 1/4" jack, so you can use under chin headphones or headphones of your choice. It actually comes with Garrett headphones though. This is your power switch, which also controls your ground tracking. When you switch that on to slow track and ground balance it, you'll get a battery indicator. 1 beep means you need to change the batteries, and 4 or more means that it's you've got good batteries. You ground balance it in slow and then switch it to lock for your detecting operations. I find this machine likes to warm up a bit. You don't have to rush with your ground balancing or your startup sequence. So anyway, once you've done that, it's a matter of your threshold. Now that's a very personal thing. That's just the tone that you get in your ears. Ideally it should be just above audible, so you can pick up the little burbles in the targets as you run across them. But I mean that's a personal thing, and you've also got volume adjustment on your headphones. Discrimination. Now there is a facility on this machine known as reverse discrimination, and it has got an iron check on it, but I personally don't use that. Since I bought it for prospecting and not so much relic hunting, in the goldfields you just got to dig everything, so I don't discriminate anything out, and you can't walk past a target anywhere in the goldfields. I mean, if you get into really trashy creeks and the old mullock heaps where the old timers have been, a pulse induction is not your ideal machine anyway. You might be better off going to a VLF with a small coil like the AT Gold, which has got a good iron discrimination on it. But anyway, I leave the discrimination at 0, threshold at about 4, and I operate it in a lock when I'm detecting. So we'll just show a little bit of a ground balance sequence now, and we'll go detecting. Okay, ready to go now with the Infinium. We're prospecting. We've got the 14-inch monocoil on. It's just a matter of, as I showed earlier, I've got the machine set with the control box under the cuff, which I find convenient. Just a matter of switching it on to slow, and you'll get your battery beeps. If you get 4 beeps, you've got a fresh battery. 1 beep, it's time to change your batteries. Okay, what I like to do is just sit the machine on the ground while it warms up. Now we do our ground balance system. Very important, you must ground balance the coil at your search height. Now you're ground balancing it up here because that's not where you're swinging it. Now he's going like this, that won't do anything. Ground balance it. I'm just getting a nice soft ground balance there. Noise is reduced, it's nice and smooth. And to compensate for the grass in the spot I'm in, 2 or 3 inches above the ground, I'm getting a nice steady threshold now from the machine. So what I do now is switch it to lock, and I'm ready to go detecting. Now, as I said before, you should get these false signals because as long as you've got that cable on your coil nice and tight, you're not smashing into things, that should be running lovely and smooth, and any signal you get should be a diggable target. Like I said, I don't use the discrimination. I run it in lock all the time, unless it is really variable ground, and the discrimination I don't bother with because I just dig everything. If we're looking for gold, you don't want to be passing up any target because even though gold should give you a wee or low high tone, in other words low conductivity, it may not, in some cases they may not happen. It may be masked by iron, there could be things around it. You've got to dig all your targets, and you're going to dig a lot of nails and you're going to dig a lot of rubbish. We all know that in the goldfields, but that's the only way to get gold, unless you're prospecting virgin ground. In that case, definitely dig all your targets. Anyway, so off we go detecting. Okay, that's just a quick look at in the field in Australia at the Garrett Infinium Pulse Induction Metal Detector. One of the big advantages of this machine is it's waterproof, not just for a diving environment, but I mean if it starts raining out here and you're detecting, you don't have to go home, just keep going, because all you're going to do is get wet. Brilliant machine, versatile, economical, and you will find gold with it.